of our new strategy is a shift from a time-based approach to one based on conditions. I've said it many times how counterproductive it is for the United States to announce in advance the dates we intend to begin or end military options. We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on. America's enemies must never know our plans or believe they can wait us out. I will not say when we are going to attack, but attack we will.
Availability of land. One of your policies is saying releasing more federal land, building houses.
Yeah.
How will you enact that here in Sudani? Because that is a huge issue here in Sudani, and it will be in 20 years.
Well, we want to have land so we can have housing built in certain areas like this area. They don't have the housing, and we have so much land, and we want to put it to use. So we're going to have land released, and on that land we're going to build housing. We're going to have housing built.
But Matt, Iran has kicked out IAEA inspectors. There could be portions of their nuclear program that are secret. A nuclear secret in the Middle East. How about it? If the world is interested in a secret nuclear program in the Middle East, there is a country that won't allow any international inspectors. Israel. Israel has a nuclear weapon. Did you know that? I do. They allow no inspections. They are fully secretive and clandestine about it, and the Americans are fully aware. You know what? I don't even blame Israel for this. If they want to develop a nuclear weapon, if they had the blessing to do so secretly, I'm not in judgment of that. But to drag the world into a regime change war over secret nuclear weapons, when you have secret nuclear weapons, is a bit hypocritical. So here's the deal. How about Iran and Israel both give up their secret nuclear weapon programs? If Trump got that deal, he wouldn't only get the Nobel Peace Prize, they'd probably name it the Trump Peace Prize forevermore. And it's not that crazy to think about Israel denuclearizing. Look at the model in South Africa. South Africa denuclearized right before they stopped being an apartheid state. Prominent voices in Israel and America have called for Trump to recognize Israel's sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, which some people call the West Bank. If that happens, Israel will have to let the 5 to 6 million people who live there vote. And they don't want to do that. I'm not calling Israel an apartheid state. Right now, I don't think they are. But if they are ruling the West Bank, as the neocons would suggest, then the South Africa model for denuclearization is not totally off base. There's a certain bravado at the beginning of a Middle East regime change war. There's enthusiasm, bold predictions of swift victory, and usually a total misunderstanding of what happens next. Oh, Iraq wasn't prepared. Daisy cutter? This is how easily the so-called foreign policy experts believed we would carve our way through Iraq. I saw how many of our bravest patriots were pushing up daisies as a consequence of that war. I went to their funerals. I visited their grave sites. I saw the true cost of a flawed regime change war in the Middle East. The problem is we had no plan to get out. Iraq cost America $3 trillion, and this distraction and disaster aided in both the rise of China and ISIS. Whoever was telling you that we had the ability to topple a regime in Iraq and then come out with something better was either one, lying to you, or two, so wholly ignorant about the country they were invading that their lack of knowledge or curiosity or understanding led to blood and terrorism and chaos. So as we approach the 2025 vintage of regime change wars in Iran, I wonder if those now cheerleading attacks on Iran know anything about the country they want to topple.
Leg has been risen, my friends. So another quick video on symbolism. As of June 18th, while most were distracted by headlines and debates, Donald Trump executed the most symbolic move in modern political history at the White House. Now, this is information from my friend Alpha, so stick around and key in with the symbolism here. It's huge. So there's a brand new American flag that was raised over the White House today. And it's not on an old pole. This is put on a very new, brand new shiny pole. It's 88 feet tall. It is paid for personally by Donald Trump. Now there's two poles that are now standing. One is in the north and south lawn, each 88 feet and each $50,000. And it is not government funded. It is a mission that has been funded. So this also is not a ceremony. This is not for campaign optics. This was literal 5G warfare, 5th generation warfare, executed in broad daylight. So if we look at the overarching symbolism, in traditional warfare, raising a flag to an enemy is claiming territory. It means victory, occupation of reclamation. So in this 5G warfare symbolism, it is very, very strategic. And these actions override headlines, optics, and basically is becoming an information warfare right now, what's going on. So he didn't just raise the Capitol flag, on June 14th, on his birthday, on the Army of the 250th date. He raised a new flag on new ground with his own money. And this was a planting of the standard, a claim over occupied territory. And so this is really going to take you quite a few steps deeper if we really look at what the symbolism is in the Q drops. So if it's 88 feet tall, we go to Q post 88, and this is prophetic. It says 10 days, darkness, scare tactics, mainstream media. Now, military options is the next part. Operators in the U.S. called the Great Awakening, Godfather 3. Q88 also references a sequence. Saudi Arabia, United States, Asia, and the EU. So military is in control and distractions are necessary. So the focus was the U.S. today, right? We've raised this flag, but the narrative is cracking on Q88. Trump returns. Is that a coincidence? Not so much, my friends. We are witnessing a live operation. Now let's look at the Churchill factor. In the same week, the White House removed the MLK Jr. bust from the Oval Office and replaced it with Winston Churchill. Why him? Because he symbolizes wartime leadership, uncompromising defiance against global tyranny, and Western civilization resistance to authoritarianism. So this bust swap wasn't racial, it was not political, simply military messaging. Trump said, I was the hunted, now I'm the hunter. That's a psychological transition signal from reactive to active, from defense to just strategic offense. So the real message is the deep state captured DC from within. And what you've been seeing and is now on the front line is territory being reclaimed, piece by piece, not with bombs, not with troops. Symbolism. The narrative is in control. The war isn't coming. It's already being fought. And today, the flag was raised, not just for a movie or a show or a Q post, but as a signal to the enemy, to the world, to you. Do you see it yet? The Republic has been marked. The standard is planted and the hunter has arrived. So this is beautiful information from my friend, Alpha from Twitter. Go follow him. Wonderful thread. We're in it, guys. We're to the end.
Iranians are responding to the gospel in numbers unimaginable. Iran is converting to Christianity at a rate of almost 20% annually. So Iranians are responding to the gospel, to the message of Jesus in ways unimaginable. In fact, one expert said Iran is the first Islamic nation that we can actually say is post-Islamic. 60% of Iranians do not claim Islam as a religion anymore. The other 40%, only 2% are practicing Muslims. 38% do not practice Islam. There is a religious awakening that's happening in Iran.
Self-deportation, flight packed with mostly men. Get out of here and learn how to come back legally.
Vámonos. Me dejó. De ese lado, por favor.
Damage inside one of the high-rise apartment buildings affected by the Iranian ballistic missile impact in BEERSHEBA.
But I'm not under an NDA or gag order anymore, and I can tell you everything that I know, and it's all good. Okay. Now let's start out with the show. Let's start out with the really big show that we're watching, the psychological operation called the movie. Okay, the movie. Trump's just given Iran 2 weeks to think about it. Okay. Well, let's go back to the fear factor. Okay. Let's go to the fear factor. The fear factor is, we don't want any bombs around the nuclear stuff because so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about electronics. We're going to talk about analog electronics, and we're going to talk about digital electronics. Back in the 50s and the 60s, when certain boom things that would go up in the sky were made, they were made with 18-gauge multi-strand copper wiring with rubber type insulation. Okay? They were not made with digital frequencies. Okay? The digital frequencies existed back then. We didn't know about them, but they didn't want anybody interfering like they can with Bluetooth today. So the boom things, those things were made with this 18-gauge speaker wire. It's the same 18-gauge speaker wire that we use in bands when playing music. You know who that is? The neighbors of Iraq. Okay? Even the ones that Papa Bush sent to that we use in bands when playing music. And it works great for speakers, but it only has a life of about 5 to 7 years. And then the insulation itself, degrades the quality of the wire and will no longer function at its purpose. And that's what's happened with those boom things, okay? Those boom things that go up in the air and go boom, okay? They can't work. So all these boom things that everybody's scared about that's going to have a boom war, they won't work, okay? Even the ones that Papa Bush sent to the neighbors of Iraq, you know who that is, the neighbors of Iraq, and he gave them a bunch of boom things, okay? So they don't work. They can't work. The wiring is all degraded. End of story. And the other thing is, we lost Brian. The other thing is the good guys that are flying their spaceships in the skies won't allow it. Okay, I'm using good language now. Okay, using good language. They won't allow it. So now wait a minute. So let's see. So we got everybody scared because thinking the boom things are going to go up. They're not going to go up. There's never going to be a boom thing war. Okay, it ain't going to happen. It can't happen. All right. Now, as long as you get that fear factor out of your head, then we're going to go to the real reason. Now, it's been hinted on the interweb this is what you got to realize about Iraq's neighbors. Iraq's neighbors have the same kind of relationship with American politicians as Russia's neighbors, the ones that start with the letter U, okay? They have the same kind of relationship. Now, there is tunnels being cleaned out by SSP forces in Iraq's neighbors' underground, okay? It's so hard when I got to think every word I'm going to say, okay? But they also have the same kind of relationship that the U country has, okay? So there's not information that Trump is looking for. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for gold in them thar hills. That's what they're looking for, okay? It's the gold, okay? And there's wherever there is people that are being forced to go certain places, people that are being forced by, by one of these, So, the human T word, So whenever they're forced, there's always gold in them thar hills somewhere underground. That's what they're looking for, okay? Why do you think Trump gave them 2 more weeks? They got 2 more weeks because they haven't got it all out of there yet. Now, as far as Iraqi's neighbor's leader goes, they can take him out anytime they want to. They could take him out for a soda pop. They could give him a pew, whatever, But they can take him out anytime they want. That's already been proven. Okay, so what you're watching is a psychological operation, a psyop. There's not going to be any war. The 2 weeks is just a delaying tactic. And at the end of the show tonight, I will be giving all the updated RV information that I have not been able to give for the last 2-3 weeks. And baby, it's good. Here's what, I don't want to let you guys down. I'm going to give you the information that I have that I've been allowed to talk about now. I'm no longer under gag order or a NDA because I was told yesterday that there's nothing that's going to stop this. Okay? There's nothing that's going to be, nothing to stop this. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate you. God bless you, honey. Oh my gosh, I got an update. Holy cow. Let's go back one day so you can see where we're at. I brought Wyatt up to date on this stuff because I knew he would keep his mouth shut, but I was just released from my NDA. Okay. This is from a friend of mine, the intake officer. In the past 2 weeks, several of the steps mentioned in my last reports, which were to take place before 6/19/24, gee, that's today, have actually been accomplished. A notable step being the payments to the American Indians have been completed. The funds for making the payments to all the trigger contacts are now released and ready to issue to those contracts. It is now anticipated that the trigger contracts will be issued on Monday or Tuesday. It is also expected that once the trigger contracts have been issued, the remaining release steps will take place shortly thereafter. That was yesterday, or 2 days ago. Now, here is the latest and greatest. Okay. And when I say latest and greatest, I mean it just came in, okay? What I received as of 9/22 Eastern Daylight Time, Thursday, June 19th, 25, that's today. I was advised 3 U.S. trigger contracts are ready, with the 4th U.S. trigger being finalized tonight. The other 8 global triggers in Hong Kong and Zurich are also finalized and ready to go out. Right after the platforms will begin sending out invitations and contracts with payments Monday and Tuesday. Okay. Then bank notifications on Monday with bank appointments on Wednesday. Do not show up at the bank and asking to do an exchange. You have to have an invitation. You have to have an appointment. Okay. Then bank notifications on Monday with bank appointments on Wednesday. Buyer in Zurich states funds are moving and he expects to have liquidity Monday. This is the latest. This is the greatest. Nobody else has this. It just came in. Okay? You went up to the date RB information. You have it. Nothing is going to stop this thing. Now, isn't it funny? Trump gives 2 weeks, gives the neighbors to. Okay, so that's all the latest and greatest. I was told by the intake officer over the phone that there's possibility that I could be going in after the 23rd. Now, today is the 19th, Friday is the 20th, Saturday the 21st, 22nd is Sunday, 23rd is Monday. So Monday is a key point. But what we have to pay attention to here is Trump's 4th of July celebration. It's supposed to be Liberation Day, okay? Everything's happening at once, guys, just like I told you about my speedboat theory. Everything is happening at once. I wish we had Wyatt on here because we could get his perspective from what is going on in Australia. I will tell you that in Australia, there is a ton of military movement, okay? A ton of military movement. Remember, now, Australia is a member of the North American Union. They are part of the United States. We are waiting for them to accept the Constitution of the United States of America, the Organic Constitution, as their Constitution. There will probably be a ceremony for that, but we're still got the adjusting period. And guess what? There's a bunch of arrests going on in Australia, just like there is in the United States, okay? If you think these guys are getting away with what they've been pulling, they're not. They're getting arrested. So far, I want you to pay attention to this number. So far, worldwide, realm-wide, universe-wide, 433 million arrests and executions have been performed by the White Hats and the Alliance. That's a bunch of dead bad guys. Okay? And it's still happening.
Yeah, more arrests. And we're not just talking down here, surface planet either. We're talking outside. Also, there are lots of arrests going on outside.
Anyway, very stressful night.
We have breaking news right now. Donald Trump has officially approved plans to strike Iran, for the United States to go to war with Iran and strike nuclear sites, according to the Wall Street Journal. But the holdup, there's no final approval just yet. He's waiting to see whether or not Iran will, on its own, abandon its nuclear progress and its nuclear facilities, according to the Wall Street Journal's latest reporting. 3 people familiar with the deliberations in this matter have said that Donald Trump has approved final plans to strike Iran. But the final order still is on hold. Iranian nuclear facilities remain up and running, but Donald Trump is waiting to see whether or not Tehran will abandon the nuclear program on its own. Folks, this is significant. Donald Trump is meeting with his National Security Council right now. We could potentially see a strike of Iran this evening based on the timeline, so I will provide you updates every step of the way. Subscribe to my Substack to support at the link in my bio. Spread the word. It's going to be a very long night. Giddy up. I'm not going to be sleeping anytime soon, so follow along for all the news you need to know about. I'll have time, or I'll have updates every hour.
National Cryptocurrency Association on X. Big moment for crypto in the US. Here's what the Genius Act could mean for you. Stronger protections for your stablecoins, clear rules for stablecoin issuers, more trust in using crypto for everyday payments and savings. If signed into law, this first-of-its-kind bill would create the first national framework for stablecoins in the US, a major step toward clarity, safety, and even more real-world use. Abu Sinawi posted on X, 8:29 a.m. June 20th, 2025. So they're continuing the conversation that Majid posted yesterday about Sudani. I didn't know either until a few days ago. Not only did he request political asylum for himself and his family, but also for one of his cousins, within less than an hour. The request was rejected and they told him he only had a few hours to leave America. And then Majid responded, they knew he has to be taken out because he's a criminal who defended criminals in Iraq, and all of a sudden he wants to be protected. How fucking no. Abu comments, in fact, when he went to America, he asked the US Treasury to lift sanctions on frozen Iranian assets. He left Iraq's problems and went to defend Iran until the Americans couldn't stand it and expelled him. Kim, that's awesome. Carolina girl, wow, didn't know he was seeking asylum. That's what happens when you're a criminal. Majid posted on X 3:57 a.m. June 2025. Son of a bitch, that was quick. Israeli army, we targeted a secret location in the mountains where leaders of the Iranian Quds Force were meeting. That's where the militia leaders from Iraq went to hide in Iran. They caught them all. President Trump says Fed Chair Jerome Powell is costing our country hundreds of billions of dollars. He is truly one of the dumbest and most destructive people in government, and the Fed board is complicit. MARKZ, Trump is not the key person who gets to release the RV. I have a great contact in the Chinese families that are putting up the gold. They are very uncomfortable releasing the RV while the current Iranian administration is there for the gold treaty. That is what I was told. Clearly a backup group that's in place because something is going on. The bank is mad because Trump told them to RV, but the banks need a rate so they can get reimbursed. As of right now, the banks are holding currency they can't get reimbursed on. He continues, I have identified a key person in the US Treasury that feeds misinformation or bad information, and that Trump is holding up the RV is a horrendous piece of misinformation being shared right now. I believe it's being done on purpose to divide this community. I am 100% confident Trump is not the delay. In this matter, President Trump is just middle management. Mike Barra has commented on his channel. Newsflash. Donald Trump has been removed as the decision maker on the RV timing. He is still in charge of the execution, but no longer the final decision maker on the timing. We await the outcome of events in Iran. It is not yet known if cessation of the nuclear program will be sufficient, or a full regime change must be in place for a go signal. We are on high alert from today forward. Full update tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on all the usual channels. Be nice if you can give us the source of your information. President Trump to decide whether US will join the war against Iran within 2 weeks, White House confirms. Not sure Gnosis on X posted 5:37 p.m. June 18, 2025. 2,780-year-old Israelite tablet finally translated to reveal its message. Persia is only weeks away from developing a nuclear weapon. You mean they just figured that out today? They probably learned a long time and they see something now. It's a bit late. Iran just blew a hole in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. A direct missile strike, real damage, real injuries. But here's what's wild. Markets rallied. The TA-35 hit a 52-week high the same day. Welcome to the simulation. You're watching the opening plays of a high-stakes economic reset disguised as regional conflict. Iran hit the symbol of Israeli finance, not civilians, not military base. They attacked the economic system, not the population. That's a message. And the market's reaction? It wasn't organic. It was engineered calm. Liquidity backstopped. AI algos throttled. Panic suppressed. Why? Because this isn't just war. It's controlled demolition. A financial power shift wrapped in the theatrics of missiles and speeches. Watch the money, not the headlines. The markets know what's coming. Israel's Defense Minister Gaetz says Iranian Supreme Leader KHAMENEI cannot continue to exist. If you feel like you don't fit into this world, it's because you're here to help create a new one.